Hello and welcome to Nurgle's roster reveal. I'm excited for this. I don't know if you guys are, but let's just get into it. First we get Kugath Plaguefather, who is on of what is said to be it is called, I forget. It's called a Nurgle Pelican. He gets it as default, like right from rank 1. So right at the beginning, you get a Pelican, which constitutes as an artillery piece, throwing Nurglings across the battlefield and blowing them up in enemies' ranks. It's kind of funny. Here, have some Nurglings. Hope Nurgle gives you his regards. Um, he isn't a good melee combatant, but as they have been doing with most artillery this time around, they are able to defend themselves somewhat. So they can fight a little bit, as they're alluding to here. He's not immense power, but he's also not an easy target. But he gets Lord of Nurgle. He gets his own probable special mount of the Nurgling Pelican. Instead of looking like this, it looks like this. So, yeah. Let's move on to Nurgling Lords. Heralds of Nurgle. These guys are basically your melee boys. They also can get a Nurgling Pelican, which makes me question, do they get a artillery piece, basically? Is Lords the way to go for artillery pieces? Or they can fly on a Rotfly, which just makes them flying. And they have Lore of Nurgle or Death. I find it interesting that they give Nurgle Lore of Death, because I don't know, this kind of feels a little weird that they get death, but because they're not really a death people, they're about like constantly living through diseases. So I kind of feel like Skaven's, if they were gonna give them another lore, maybe Skaven's lore, but then that'll probably be de facto over Nurgle's lore. Maybe in the future we'll get it. Exalted Great Unclean One is the other lord. Basically, our big boy here, foot on foot, is all I could get, and they get access to Lord Death. There isn't much about these guys and these paragraphs too much. I read through all of them. It didn't. There's really not much. It's just, hey, these points are mattering. They'll get to it later, but these Nurgle's armies are generally slow. So I think that might be his stick, is that his armies are slow, but with the plagues, it might be good. It might not matter. Cultists of Nurgle. Now that we're going into the heroes, they say that these guys are alright in battle, but you probably want them to spread your plague, which I might tend to agree, because this guy seems really not the best. So, I mean, if he's going to be spreading your plagues and all that, I would rather him to be agents, because you get plague ridden. Plague ridden are literally plague bearers, like Heralds of Nurgle, but without the magic. Actually, with the magic, and one of the units which are called plague bearers. I'm just real quick looking, making sure I don't miss anything in the paragraphs. Nope. Oh, okay. So yeah, Lord Nurgle. They also get a Nurgle Pelican or Rotfly, which might be you want to do that, but we'll see. Nurglings. Now, Nurglings are just like, as they say, mini great clean ones, great unclean ones, they are, yeah, mini versions of Nergo himself, blah, 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 blah. But the notable characteristics is what is most important because they talk about all Nurgling demons. Excuse me 1 second. All right. All Nurgling demons. So everything except for Forsaken and Spawn share a couple traits. Poison attacks, Cloud of Lies, which both represent a constant sickness and aura of disease surrounding them. Later, meaning the Cloud of Lies, increases the melee defense of the unit if they are in extended melee combat. Now, does Cloud of Lies act as what is it called? Frenzy works, where it's 15, 30, 45? Or is it just at 30 seconds in combat, you get Cloud of Flies? I don't know. We'll have to see. All demons also share Cause Fear and physical resistance traits, as well as granting immunity to terror and routing, and causing damage when leadership drops. Nurglings may deploy far out from the main forces with Vanguard deployment because they're good little lads, just absolute champs. Now, some of these flavor texts in this are funny at first, and then later on when we get it through this, it starts getting annoying. Which CA needs to learn the balance of. So, looking at this, why do they get physical resistant traits? Something that Khorne would absolutely want over magical. Which only affects spells. Also, why does Nurgle get melee defense? If I remember correctly, their units, if they have high winds of magic, they get melee defense, which is way better than any armor. As you'll see, some of these guys don't have armor, that good of armor. I mean, look at this guy. Do you think this guy has armor? Probably not. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter when they get, like, melee defense up the wazoo. Hey, I can't get hit. I have 190 melee defense. You can't hit me, man. Nah, 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 nah. It's, like, armor won't matter if you can't get hit. So, I don't know. And they get physical resist, so they're lowering most of that damage down anyways. Magical's gonna hurt them. Okay. Magical weapons were given a pass when they switched magical resistance to spell resistance. So, yeah. Plague Bearers of Nurgle. So this is your basic infantry. These guys are like your, I guess, like from the, I mean, they're not even probably as good as the ogres. You may want to throw a lot of Nurglings in armies, but they're probably the weakest. But this is like your regular meat shield plague bearers are. They say like right here, what they lack in armor and skill, plague bearers make up for pure strength and health, making them meat shields probably. So meat shields will be pretty good. In general, Nurgle's armies are slow and plod an oncoming and inevitable death, and plague bearers are some of the slowest. No matter how and then how nicely they ask, do not hug. There's a joke in the community about Nurgle wanting to give you a big ol' hug. But so this is my problem. Nurgle's armies are slow. That is going to be his bane of existence. So early game Nurgle might have some problems. But then again, I point out like Nurgle's armies are slow, but he gets all those plagues. So you could literally plague an army to death with attrition. Like they're going to be so weak and you just come in and just auto-resolve because they're so weak. Which might be Nurgle's early game thing where he just auto-resolves stuff. For second of Nurgle, here are the one units that do not get those special abilities. So they are kind of like the Plague Bearers, but offensive. They cover an important role in Nurgle's armies as hardy, quick-moving forces. They are constant. They are in constant frenzy, cause fear, immune to psychology. Okay, when you say they're in constant frenzy, does that mean they have the ability activated all the time? Or does that mean they have frenzy as an ability? Because that's a big difference. Because if they already have frenzy activated, I don't have to be in combat to have frenzy activated with these guys. These guys actually become a little bit better. Significantly lower melee defense and health than Plague Bearers, giving you a choice of ways to destroy your enemies. So here's what I'm thinking a little bit right now. What you do is have a line of Plague Bearers, and inside that line of Plague Bearers, you have Forsaken. So they protect each other. Actually, Forsaken dish out damage while the Plague Bearers protect the Forsaken from dying. I think it's a good pair. You should be doing that with most of your monstrous infantry. You should have like a bunch of spearmen or something to hold the line while you have your monstrous infantry killing stuff. Like you Shopti and skeleton spears. They should be intertwined with each other and so that they protect each other. Then we get to Exalted Plague Bearers in Nurgle. Now, they are just bigger, stronger, and more powerful Plague Bearers, but does that mean they're faster? They're probably faster, because soon they said that these Plague Bearers are the slowest. The Exalted also support a ranged weapon, small versions of Death's Head at enemies that come close. This has armor-piercing properties, but very limited ammunition counts. Talk. This also has poison, almost everything Nurgle has. And we can, blah, 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 blah. We know how poison works. It reduces speed, weapon attack, and weapon damage. No, or just weapon damage. I can forget. But in any case, this is their first ranged unit. And as you will see, it's pretty much their only ranged unit. So, it's kind of sucks. Honestly, in my opinion. Next, we have Nurgles, Monsters, and Beasts. Chaos Furies. So these are Harpies. And these are probably like one of the fastest units, but they're Harpies. For a slow army like Nurgle, yep. Extremely, yeah, it's just basically saying that Furies can move fast and hit and run. Effective, they have poison, like we know. Useful to support Nurgles with Vanguard deployment, as well as be quick in pinch. Does this mean that they have Vanguard deployment? Because if they do, you just Vanguard deploy Nurglings with Furies and let's go. But who knows? Beast of Nurgle. Now, they don't really say much in this, but again, we got only the points. Beast of Nurgle has regeneration, flesh, which weak to fire but strong to death, blah 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 blah, basically telling us they have regeneration, which would be good. Oozing slime in all directions, even as it sits still. This magic clings to enemies and slows them down, so effectively it's frostbite. It has a frostbite aura. Because frostbite slows enemies, and this also slows enemies. And then this is just fluff. Come on. I mean, that's kind of funny, but come on. Plague Totem of Nurgle. Now, they mention, I think it's just down there. I'm just checking. Yeah, it's just down here. That they take a role of light cavalry or powerful war beasts from another army, though their own unique gait and feel. Of course, they're gonna hop. Will smash aside units with pure body weight, giving them anti-infantry properties, so they have anti-infantry. On the cheaper and speedier side of Nurgle. Okay. Well, considering Nurgle's slow, this doesn't say much. But I can see like you probably making a doom stack of these plague toads a little bit. Um, like the what is it called? The Skaven giant rats. I forget what they're called. I forget what they're called. They're called something or to Skaven units. It's gonna bother me if I don't find out. Let's look real quick. Look at Pack Masters. They get Brood Horrors. That's what they're called. Brood Horrors. Knew I forgot them. So these might be like Brood Horrors where they can just run through enemies and all that. And then we get Rotflies. These guys are your flying units. They are fast moving, armor piercing flying unit. Which are just sound like better Furies, or Harpies, I should say. Taking the opportunity to highlight our new flying toggle. Cool, thank you. And then funny joke, haha. Pox Riders. Pox Riders are plague bearers on plague toads, which sounds pretty good. I don't know if they're worth the costs. We'll have to see. They likely outpace other cavalry on overly large infected toads, but they'll give their best shot. Unlikely. Might be. Unlikely. So they're slow, which doesn't help much. Their charge, however, is no less devastating. If the unit is injured, this is another joke, actually. This actually annoyed me. If the unit is injured or is still replenishing after being hired, Nurgles campaign mechanic readers, is that a frog fraction? I don't get it. It's not funny. Anyways, spawn on Nurgle. So these are the second units that don't get his benefits. All the benefits that the other demons get. So they don't get poison, they don't get the extra melee defense. But they do say that they do get poison attacks. Which is kind of funny. And also they will regenerate over time. I think most of the spawn do regenerate. Can't remember. I know they're unbreakable. Spawn offer significantly higher weapon strength and speed than most troops. Yeah. On the flip side, their high health gels well with Nurgles' other troops access to various healing effects. Yeah, but at the same time, this seems like, don't like it. Yeah, they get regen, but by the time they're regenning, it's like, okay, whatever. They probably lost entity. Maybe not, since they're changing how regen works. We'll see. We'll see how these guys do. Plague drones of Nurgle. Basically a rotfly with a plague bearer on it. They have two types: flying war beasts and death's heads. So death heads right off the bat are a variant with low ammunition range with low ammunition. We saw death head before. Mentioned before, it's a range attack, and it's Nurgle's second unit that has a range attack, other than the heroes and legendary lord on the artillery. I don't. They're just like one extra angry bile spewing demon per Rothfly adds a mixture of additional stats to the mix. When you mean that could also mean stats went down, not add stats. And then they're joking. This is a joke of dinosaur riding a dinosaur, Damon riding a Damon. Ha 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 ha! Very funny. It's not that funny. Like, this is like the point where I'm like, I stop caring. These aren't funny jokes. Now to the big monsters. We got the Great Unclean One, which he's just a big boy with magic, basically. Um, he. It sounds like from these organs burst tiny pestilent creatures called Nurglings, which sounds like he can summon a unit of Nurglings, which would be pretty cool. He has access to various spells, Lord Nurgle, from Lord Nurgle, making it all-around menace. A great unclean one is truly blah 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 blah. Actually, it's not saying much. He has armor-piercing strikes that can cut through fortress doors as easily as flesh, which cool armor-piercing as long as it's not anti-large because those doors don't count as anti-large; they count as infantry. Funny enough. Um, Nurgle's mystical monsters and beasts is only one, and it's the Soul Grinder. So if you were worrying at all, it maintains its great melee capabilities of other variants, making it a fantastic all-rounder. It shoots a glob of poisonous material at artillery ranges to destroy formations, which sounds like it's a good artillery piece and not an anti-large unit. It might still deal as much damage as an anti-large unit, but also can kill infantry units pretty well, which sounds very good, and also gets the other passives of Nurgle. Now, here I'm going to talk about what I think a Doom stack or a stack is going to look like you would generally want to make. So, the way that Nurgle does his units is a little different from everyone else because you don't just unlock these and then go with these. It's going to be probably a mix of units at first, maybe some Nurglings, some Plague Bearers, maybe some Chaos Furies of Nurgle, basically Harpies, maybe that's it. But I would say what you would generally want to aim for is probably some Nurglings. Use them a little bit like cavalry. Then have a bunch of Plague Bearers. Get some Forsaken. And if you can, get some Exalted. Eventually, get some Exalted in there. Switch them out with Plague Bearers so that you have Exalted in there. And that is like somewhat your basic army. Maybe some Chaos Sphere. Actually, throw the Chaos Spheres out. Switch them out with Plague Toads, or if you want flying units, Rothflies. Go with Rothflies. Because if I remember correctly from Nurgle's campaign effects. Here, this is the thing I want. Yeah, it looks like you get flies for initially. And here it looks like some more Nurglings. Here looks like there's toads. And here looks like you get plague bearers. Yeah. Nurglings, then you go to the Medusa girl, or what was it called? What was that unit called? It's called Beast of Nurgle. So what you probably want to do, looking at it, and it looks like you only get one building slot per. So I would say, in general, this is my opinion, in general, what you would want to do is maybe grab one of these two buildings, depending on their cost. I would probably suggest the Plague Toads and get those boys started as your first building. Then what you're gonna do is you're gonna build this building, the Cavernous Compost. Get some Nurglings in there, but also you're reducing your cycle of your basic military buildings, which means this will go faster. mean you will be pumping out these toad dudes a lot faster. Now, that is going to be highly dependent on how much they cost. I don't know how much these guys cost just yet, but you could earn a good amount of money. Nurgle's thing is growth. We know this. Look at this growth, 205, and you can just pump it more. His economy looks kind of garbage. Me and my friend looked at this. The reason why he probably has 2,310 income is because of these port buildings. We can say, at least with these port buildings, that this is probably 500 at tier 3. This is 250 because it's technically still tier 2. So that means 750 minus that. You're probably earning actually 1,600. Which, these are at tier 3, which are probably giving you money. This building gives you 30 income per, so you kind of minus 30 from that too. But the thing is like, how many of these other buildings are giving you money? How reliable is this income generated? Because if it decreases back to 10 here, you got fluctuating income coming in, which isn't good for a race that like depends on like recruiting units like within instantly, because you might not have enough. So yeah, but like you might get lucky. I would say definitely build this in minor settlements, but we'll see. So plague toads might be your like first units of army. You might have an army of rotflies. With or plague drones of Nurgle, because these guys might be good. It looks like you get a couple. Hopefully this is the range variant and these are the melee variants. Those look like they're the range variant, these are the melee variant actually. Looks also like there's 2 fly versions. See one. Oh no, those are the Furies and that's the actual rotfly. So yeah, you're gonna have Furies for a while. And then you're going to switch them out with rotflies. And then I can't say you're probably going to have an army of great unclean ones. I will say maybe your main army with a bunch of other plague bearers. Yeah, you're going to have them, but not really. I could see spawn of Nurgle maybe being filed in. Like, honestly, right now, I'm saying, what I'm trying to get at a little bit is like CA actually made an faction that makes it be like, okay, guys, we need to use all of our units, so we have to have a balanced army. Meanwhile, both Tomb Kings and Beastmen go freaking crazy. Like they do one unit, spam it out, and then they go and pick other units and throw in. This actually requires you to not spam units out, as far as I can understand. You may want to do a couple Beasts of Nurgle. I think they're going to be better mixed in instead of their own stack. Only ones I can see having their own stack and be perfectly fine is these Soul Grinders. But that's a thing of contention because building Soul Grinders here, I don't see their exact building, so it might be a long time before you get those. Those guys are probably late game, so you probably want to mix them in first. So this actually faction might be a mixed faction, mostly because their units are slow and they have barely any range, so that kind of sucks. They're like in Korn's position, but better. And so we don't see too much. Alright, this has been me, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.